Angela Dallas. And I present myself here to you requesting the public, wider society and a whole, Amnesty International, human rights, and the legal fraternity in reuniting me with my kids and my husband, my family in the UK after I was unlawfully and illegally removed by the Metropolitan Police, a drastic breach of my human rights. Before I state my case, I would like to present to you my birth certificate. I am a Commonwealth citizen born in Jamaica of Jamaican parentage, who has got a right to live in the UK and was living in the UK for over 12 years before I was unlawfully removed by the police. I have been living in the UK for over 12 years and has been granted temporary leave by the government of the UK. Since 2006, I've been given leave in the UK. At the time of my removal, I had an application for a permanent residency for me, my husband, and my 2 kids, after we have been living here for over 12 years. I have presented here a letter, my last letter from the government, the Home Office in Britain. I present here to you my last letter from the Home Office, which states my application for permanent residency cannot be decided before 2011. I was unlawfully kidnapped by the Metropolitan Police in 2009 and brought to Jamaica without the knowledge of the Home Office, my husband, my kids, or anyone. I can also verify that I have been living in Lambeth for most of the 12 years and was living in accommodation given to me by the government of the country. Clearly, I was not living illegally in the UK. My story, my case stated here is I was unlawfully imprisoned by the police following a threat, and after I was imprisoned by the police in 2007, I was brought to court for various charges, and the judge ruled that the case was unfounded. Now, after the judge ruled that the case was unfounded, here is a transcript of the evidence where the Honorable Judge Byrne ruled that the case against me was wrong, unlawful, and I should be released. Now, after the case was deemed unfounded, the police continued to keep me in prison, where I was tortured, kept in solitary confinement, and burned by prison officers. After 8.5 months in prison, 6 of those months in solitary confinement, I was released, no conviction whatsoever. I started a claim in the court against the police and solicitors for malicious prosecution, false imprisonment, and professional negligence. And while the case was going on in the court, this is a claim where the case started and was going on, the judge ruled that strike out the case, stating that it needed to be amended. Now, after I amended the claim and took it back to the court, which amending this claim implicated the police. Now, following the case in court, the judge ruled that I should get a lawyer, asked that I should get a lawyer because I've got a meritorious case, and the case would be better handled by a lawyer. Now, I tried to get a lawyer, which I could not get a lawyer, and so with the assistance of a solicitor, the claim was amended and brought back to court. After the case was brought back to court, the judge made a ruling in the court that the defendants should respond to the claim, as there was no response to the claim. In saying this, the judge made the order that I should have a transcript of the hearing at public's expense. Now, while the case has been going on, I applied to the Ministry of Justice for my custody record of being in prison for 8.5 months unlawfully. And while waiting on the custody records, the police came and attacked me and arrested me while me and my son was walking, and sent home the child and took me to the station. Now, while I was walking to the laundromat, me and my son, who is 13 years old at the time, the police came and arrested me, and they sent home the child, searched me in front of the child, sent home the child, and called a van, placed me in the van, and took me to the police station. While they took me to the police station, I was again searched, take away my belt, my necklace, and I was placed in cells. No caution was given, no reason was given why I'm arrested. I was arrested about 11:20 on the 1st of September. Now, while I was arrested and being in cell all day, at about sometime after 4 p.m., 2 female police officers came to my cell. And while came to my cell, they asked me for a strip search. I explained to them, why do you need a strip search? I've been in cells all day. No one told me why I've been in cells, and now you come for a strip search. Why do you need to strip search me? That's against the code of conduct. They twice. I said, why should I be strip searched? I was already searched twice and placed in cells. That's against the code of conduct. I'm not arrested for drugs. Why do you need a strip search? They said to me they have to search me, give me a strip search as ordered by the sergeant. Well, they took me from my cells and they took me to a cell with no camera, a blind cell. And they started to strip search me without my assistance and without my consent. While I was being strip searched, when all my clothes was taken off, it left my panties. They pulled my panties and they saw I've got a pad on. The officer, she asked me to remove the pad. I said to her, I am not going to remove it. You want it, you remove it. She came in front and she tried to pull out the pad. It could not remove. She came behind me and she tried and it could not move. She asked me again to remove the pad. I said to her, no, can't you see the state I'm in? I'm not going to remove it. She came back in front and she held onto my tummy with her left hand, and with her right hand she started to pull the pad. When she started to pull the pad again, I grabbed out the pad and both of them jumped back. Now, after that, they took up my clothes. The officer, she asked me to bend over and tear my cheeks apart. I refused from bending over and tearing my cheeks apart. She said to me, okay, you don't want to bend over? We'll see. And they rolled up my clothes and they walked out of the cells and leave me standing naked in the cells. While in the cells standing naked, 3 men entered the cells and they started to question me. I asked them, what is this for? Who are they? They said they are doctors. I said, for what reason are you here questioning me in a state like this? One of them, he turned to the other one and he said, this woman does not seem to be a person out of her mind. The other one, he said, I see nothing wrong with her. And they all walked out of the room. When they walked out of the cell, one of them, he turned back and he said to me, do you want your clothes? And I said to him, can't you see the state I'm in? Isn't it humiliating to have me standing like this? And he said, okay, and he walked away. A few minutes, about maybe 5-10 minutes later, an officer came and she threw a blue blanket to me. And she said, here, cover yourself with that. I was left in the cells for the rest of the day, flowing with just a blanket around me, naked as the day I was born. At about sometime after 9 in the night, the officer came and she threw my clothes to me and she said to me, put on those, we have to interview you. Now, while she said, put on those, we have to interview you, I said to her, can I have a pad? She said to me, just put on your clothes, we need to interview. And she walked away. I did not put on my clothes because I was flowing, the place was messy, it was horrible. The officer came back and she said, aren't you going to put on your clothes? I said to her, can't you see the state of the place? I need a pad. She went away and she brought 2 and she gave it to me. When she gave it to me, she said I should use the blanket and wipe up the place, clean up the place. After I put on the clothes, the pad, I put on my clothes, they led me to a room and they started to interview me about assault. They interviewed me saying I assaulted an officer. I denied all these allegations and I was led back to the cells and the officers, they went away. Sometime later, they came back and they said to me, we are going to charge you, and they charged me on 2 counts of assault. On the 2nd of September, the following morning, because I slept overnight in the cells, I didn't get a phone call, anything. I was taken to court. After I was taken to court, the charges was read out and I denied the charges. And the judge gave me bail on the 2nd of September to go to my house. After being granted bail, this is my bail form. Now, after being granted bail, the police, instead of releasing me, they took me back to the police station and told me that the immigrations need to speak to me. I have never seen an immigration officer since I was arrested on the 1st of September 2009. Now, during the time waiting on the immigration, there was no immigration at all this time, and I was in cells all this time. the police, they came and they give me another charge sheet. This charge sheet it has got my name, a different case number, everything, but it's the same case I have just been granted bail on. The police recharged me and kept me in custody for the same case I've just been granted bail on. Now, while being in custody, no immigration, no one, I started to inquire, why am I still in custody? I was granted bail. If the immigrations don't come to see me, why am I still being kept in custody? They said to me, the immigrations are going to come and see you. In the night, sometimes after 11, on the 2nd of September, I was told by an officer, the immigrations are here for you. And they took me from cells. When they took me from cells and I went up to the desk of the custody suite, I saw a G4 officer standing at the desk. Now let me explain. A G4 officer is a security officer that is, these people take prisoners from prison to prison. They are not immigration. They are a private security firm that escort prisoners. This G4 officer, she asked the custody sergeant, where are the documents for escorting this woman? He turned to her and he said to her, we cannot find them. She said to him, why not phone the immigration and let them fax you a copy? Because the immigration normally would fax you a copy if you haven't got it. He said to her, no, we can download one from the computer. In saying this, the custody sergeant went on the computer and he downloaded a document. And in downloading this document, he asked an officer to take my picture, which is stapled here on the document. The document was not signed by the custody sergeant, and it was not signed by an immigration officer. It was not verified, and it was handed to the G4 officer who escorted me to a van and drove me away. Now, driving me away, they took me all the way to Yardswood.